Your marketing meeting ends. People say things like, well, this looks interesting. Let's sleep on it. Let's think about this some more. Nobody is angry. Nobody openly disagrees. And yet somehow you walk out with more work than you walked in with. This video will show you why marketing meetings create work instead of decisions, and how to frame your next meeting so people stop sharing their personal taste and opinions and start making decisions that actually move marketing work forward. Because this isn't about bad ideas or difficult people. It's about lacking judgment rules and how to add them back to the meetings. Here's what people usually don't say out loud. You don't leave these meetings thinking, well, that was pointless. You leave thinking, I probably didn't prepare enough. I should have explained things differently, or next time I'll make it clearer. So the meeting doesn't really end. It follows you home mentally. You replay it in your head. You rewrite slides for the next meeting. And you think about all the possible objections that haven't even happened yet. You start fixing things without even knowing what the fix is supposed to achieve. That's the real stress. Not the meeting itself, the uncertainty you are carrying with you afterward. Most marketing teams operate under unspoken assumption. If we discuss this long enough, the right decisions will eventually emerge. It makes sense. It sounds reasonable. It sounds collaborative. It sounds how smart people do the work. But in marketing, it almost never works, because discussions only lead to decisions when everybody involved uses the same criteria to base those decisions on. And in most marketing meetings, it's not the case. Here's the real issue. Most marketing meetings start without shared criteria for judgment. People walk into the room with different ideas what good looks like, different priorities, different personal stakes, different risk tolerance. But none of that gets named. And when there are no shared criteria, instead of evaluating the work you did, you get their own interpretations, personal tastes, and opinions. And this always feels personal. For example, one person is reacting to whether this would impress their leadership, whether this is cool and trendy enough. Another person is thinking about execution risks. Somebody else is considering whether it's on brand. Silence is risky. Staying quiet can often mean not having an opinion, not understanding the work, or not contributing value to the meeting. So people say something, anything. Personal opinion, a random reference, the what if, or a half-formed thought. Same slide, same idea, but everybody else is answering a different question. Not because it helps, but because the system rewards visible contribution. For most, meetings like this feel productive. A lot was said. Everybody pitched in. You leave with more work, 10 perspectives, and zero clarity on what needs to change for the next round. When you do not frame the question people are supposed to answer before you show their ideas, you end up with a meeting where everybody is looking at the same slide and judging it through completely different lens. And nobody did anything wrong. That's the quiet failure point. Marketing meetings fail not because people disagree, but because there are no shared criteria to make those decisions on. On a different note, you've probably experienced a different approach once or twice as well. A meeting with fewer people talk, comments feel relevant, and feedback feels calm and focused. Not because everybody magically agrees more, but because everybody involved in the meeting uses the same criteria to make that decision. There's less improvising, less performing intelligence, less guessing what other people in the room want to hear. As the result, you walk out lighter, not because the work is finished, but because you know exactly where your work stands. Those meetings feel rare, and nothing about them is accidental. There's another layer to this stress that rarely gets named. When you are preparing for marketing meetings, you're not simply preparing the work. You are preparing a defense against the judgments you've seen before. In previous meetings, people might have focused on creativity, the execution, or whether that felt on brand. You don't know which of the judgments will be used this time, so you're trying to prepare for all of them. You add context, you add explanations, you add slides to defend angles that haven't been questioned yet. But here's the counterintuitive result. People in the room now have to sit through parts of presentation that aren't ideas and aren't their point of view. And the more of those slides there are, the stronger the feeling that you are trying just a little bit too hard. Not because the work is bad, but because the judgment rules were never agreed upon. There's too much defense, too much justification, too much logic. And the creative part should just feel right, right? There's one sentence that shows up in almost every marketing meeting. Let's think about this some more. It gets a bad reputation, and deservedly so. It's not laziness, it's not avoidance, it is self-protection. What this sentence really means is, I don't know how to justify a decision here, and I don't want to be responsible for making the wrong one. When judgment rules are unclear, postponement feels safer than a commitment, and you get to think about it some more. And this is where the stress really starts to build for days before the actual meeting. You're technically done, you have prepared for the meeting, but you are still running scenarios mentally. What if they focus on the visual or the copyright? What if unexpectedly somebody senior joins in? What if they ask why this and not that? So you add more slides, just in case, and you tweak the wording, just to feel safe. Not because what you prepared is bad, but because you are not sure that what you present in the meeting will be considered good enough to move the work forward. Unmade decisions don't just vanish, they pile up as mental stress. Each postponed decision adds another open loop in your head, which makes the next meeting feel even heavier. Nobody says it out loud directly, but you start feeling like you've let everyone down, like you are the one responsible for this project to not moving forward. The emotional stakes skyrocket, and over time this becomes the new norm. You no longer relax after working hours, you are always rehearsing. The industry rarely counts this cost, but marketers feel this weight every day. Marketing meetings don't create more work simply because people talk too much or stakeholders are difficult. They create more work because the decisions are attempted before rules for deciding exist. Conversations come instead of criteria. Opinions come instead of evaluation. Up until now, everything I've described is a system problem. But there is a simple way to prevent this before opinions even start. This is the method I use in my own work to turn marketing meetings from open-ended discussions into decision spaces. I'm not trying to tell you what to think here. I'm giving you a structure that helps everybody in the room think about the same thing at the same time. Let's say you are working on the message for your upcoming campaign. There are a few clear ways you can base your campaign message depending on how you want to frame your product. Your message can be based on what the product is. This answers the question, what it is, factually. Your message can be based on what problem your product solves. This answers the question, what is wrong without your product? Your message can be based on how your audience's life gets better. This answers the question, what life improvement replaces that problem? It can also be based on who your audience gets to become. This answers the question, who are they after this works? Finally, your message can be based on what your product stands against. This answers the question, what is the main enemy of your product? Before you even start considering creative ideas, you simply decide which question is this campaign focusing on. Now let's see how this works in practice. These are some real products I've worked with my clients earlier this week. Same product, different thinking, different framing. Example number 1. Travel for people with a language barrier. If we simply base this campaign on what it is, we get organized trips for people who don't speak any foreign language. It's very easy to understand, but of course it lacks any emotional pull. If we base this campaign on the problem this product solves, we get travel feels stressful because you're afraid of doing something wrong and not understanding what's happening. Now we are not selling trips, we are addressing the fear the audience has and their responsibility. If we base this message on how life gets better, we get you can travel without overthinking or constantly checking if everything is okay. This is where the relief appears. If we base this campaign message on the audience transformation, we get from anxious and controlling to relaxed and confident traveler. Here, identity shifts. And if we name the product enemy, it's not other travel agencies. It's travel anxiety and decision overload. Example number 2, high heels dance group. If we simply state what it is, we get dance classes focus on technique and choreography. If we move to the problem it solves, we get movement feels like a chore and you've lost connection with your body. If we move to how life gets better, we get movement becomes something you feel instead of something you force yourself to do. If we move to audience transformation, we get from I exercise because I should to I move because I love to. And the enemy of this product is not other dance studios, it's joyless, obligation-driven fitness. Example number 3, smart learning materials for preschool kids. If we stick with what it is, we get interactive educational material which helps children expand their vocabulary. If we move to the problem it solves, we get children lose interest quickly and learning feels forced and passive. If we move to how audiences' life gets better, we get learning becomes playful, self-driven, and part of everyday curiosity. If we move to audience transformation, we get from passive learner to curious explorer. And the enemy for this product is not other toys. It's passive, pressure-based learning. The pattern across all 3 examples. The product never changes. The category never changes. But the language changes dramatically. And the only thing that shifts is where the thinking starts. From what it is, to what's wrong without it, to how life gets better, who the audience gets to be, and what is the main enemy of the product. And here's the key part. When I introduce this structure before the meeting starts, that same method that helped me to come up with this work now becomes the structure to evaluate it. We are no longer discussing personal opinions and tastes. The only decision we are trying to make is which level are we basing this campaign on. Do we want to clarify what the product is? Do we want to address the problem that it solves? How life gets better? Who the audience gets to be? Or do we want to focus on the enemy of the product? Creative layer adds on top. I'm not trying to say that this is the only method that can help you come up with the results that you have to. What I am saying is, whatever the method is that you use, if you present it before the meeting, any ideas that you have simply become the results of the method that you follow. And the method that you followed becomes the backbone to evaluate the work that you did. It's no longer something you came up with. It's now the result of a clear methodology that you followed. And marketing meetings are suddenly much more structured. Once you understand this, something important shifts immediately. You stop blaming unproductive marketing meetings on yourself, on your peers, on the team. Instead, you start asking a different question. What needs to be clear before the meeting even starts to make it as productive as possible? That's where marketing discussions stop and decisions begin. Not in personal opinions, not in brainstorm, but in a structure that makes judgment feel safe. And when discussions are replaced with decisions, marketers can finally breathe again. This channel is about marketing clarity. Clarity as a way to remove pressure from a profession that already carries enough responsibility. And if these things helped my younger self, I'm confident they will be able to help other capable marketers who feel tense at the moment. So if that's you, you're in the right place.